re-releases have become a staple in the gaming world. These take the form of straight ports, remasters, and remakes. For some, this is a welcome addition to the gaming landscape, and to others, it's taking away resources from new experiences and simply trying to make a quick buck. My thoughts on this topic are a bit more mixed. I mostly don't really mind re-releases, but there are times that I find them unnecessary and a poor choice. What makes the difference for me? Well, there are a couple factors that go into this decision. They're both somewhat related, but I also feel like they're distinct enough to briefly look at separately. First is simply the amount of time that has passed between the original and the re-release. My basic rule of thumb is that a game should be at least 2 console generations old before getting a remake or a remaster. Ports are a little different for me, but I think that just depends on what the port is trying to do. If it's coming from PC to a console, there's different things that go on with ports, at least in my mind. So right now, that would mean anything from the PS3, Xbox 360, or Wii era and earlier. I think this gives enough time for there to be meaningful improvements to a game, especially through a remake or remaster treatment. The recent trend of remaking last generation games is not one that I really like or support. Marvel's Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, both of the Last of Us games, and Until Dawn are all examples of this trend. These games only came out last generation or were remade both in the PS4 and PS5 generation in the case of the first Last of Us game, and I find very little that requires a remake or remaster in these cases. There may be some graphical improvement, but nothing that really warrants a release again that quickly. On the other hand, there are many other remakes and remasters that are from many generations ago that I do completely stand behind. Dead Space, Final Fantasy VII, Demon's Souls, Star Ocean: The Second Story R, the Tony Hawk Collection, Persona 3 Reload, Silent Hill 2, and many others are all games that are at least from the PS3 generation of games, if not even further back in some cases. And these are just a few of the ones that are kind of more recent. There's a whole bunch of other remasters and remakes that have been released over the years that are ones that are bringing back older games to be able to play on modern consoles. Like with these examples, there has been more than enough time here to warrant giving a spruce up to the graphics, gameplay, or the controls and present it to a new generation of gamers. The second factor is connected to the first, but it is also slightly different, and that is the availability of the game for modern consoles. Both the PS5 and the Series S and X are backwards compatible. This means that they can play games from the previous console, with a few exceptions. I'm not an Xbox gamer, but I think backwards compatibility even goes back to the 360 era in the Xbox series of consoles. So in cases where backwards compatibility is in place and you're able to play the game without any problem, I don't find a need to have just another port of the game. Going back to my previous point, like depending on how old the game is, a remaster or remake may be welcome, but again, it just depends on really how much the game is going to be redone. Like, are you really going to focus on updating the graphics? Are you adding content to it? If we already have the ability to play it, there needs to be some kind of substantial addition somewhere for there to be a remake or a remaster. Now, if your system doesn't have backwards compatibility, then I can understand trying to re-release certain games on the newer hardware. Personally, I think backwards compatibility is pretty important and should become the norm for console development. But like in the case with the Switch, if you didn't have it, I don't hate re-releasing certain titles in various ways. It's maybe not awesome, and it shouldn't become what's normal, but getting to play those games is better than not getting to. But maybe that's just me speaking as someone who didn't get a Wii U, but did get a Switch. There are also the cases where due to licensing agreements, a game is delisted, which is a topic that probably warrants its own video. Here again though, I would be okay with re-releases in this case. Like the lack of backwards compatibility, this is not an ideal situation. But again, I would rather be able to get a game than have it be lost due to the stupid way that licensing agreements seem to work in the gaming world. These are probably my two biggest conditions regarding re-releases. Now, are there exceptions to these rules? Sure. First exception would be collections of games. If you're bundling all or some of the games from a series, even if some of them would be from the most recent generation, I don't really have a problem with this as long as the price is not over the cost of a new release. I also don't have any problem with re-releases of a game if there is a free upgrade of the game made available for the owner of the earlier version. I know that there are a number of games that released a PS5 version of a game and allowed it to be free to those who owned the PS4 version already. This doesn't bother me. It's the games that require you to buy the PS5 version again that are pretty awful in my mind. And I would include remasters in this too. While recent games like the Horizon Zero Dawn Dawn remaster have offered a discount to those who own the game already. At least for digital owners. I don't know if physical owners got the same deal. I still don't think this is quite good enough. It's better than nothing, but still kind of feels like you're trying to milk money out of people without giving them that much extra. I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn was just a PS4 release. Like, I just don't feel like you're getting a lot of value out of a remaster at that point. These are probably my only exceptions, though. At least they're the only exceptions I can think of currently. There may be other ones out there that I just haven't thought of, but that's what I've got for now. I generally enjoy when re-releases come out and allow us to play older games on modern hardware. But when games are just getting re-released that haven't really been out that long and are readily available for purchase already, it feels more like a cash grab than a service to gamers. Personally, I will continue to support re-releases that fit my requirements. There are so many older games that I haven't played or haven't played for a long time and would love to be able to play on modern hardware. I also refuse to buy those games that are a re-release way too close to the original release date and then expect you to pay for largely the same game when you already have a version that you can play easily. What about you? What are your thoughts on re-releases? Do you have a similar view as me, or do you find yourself falling mainly into a for or against position about them? Let me know in the comments so that we can continue the topic there. That's all for this video though. I'll see you in the next one.